Join Marty Johnson, the holistic health practitioner and founder of Total Health Nutrition Center in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin, as he delivers these podcasts to enlighten you and give you hope that there are health solutions to conditions that seem difficult to resolve, or even better answers than a medical approach of prescribing a chemical drug, which most times is nothing more than a Band-Aid fix, rather than getting to the root cause of your problem. The mission of the Total Health podcast is to provide the education and support that will lead to transforming people's healths so they can live a much more efficient, productive, and happier life the way God intended it to be. Join him now for his latest podcast. I have a question for you that I'd like to ask you, and we have some people inquiring if they can get help from us. And their symptoms can range from their hair falling out. Some people call and just say they're so fatigued that they can't even get through their day. Sometimes people are calling because they have the inability to lose weight and they have body aches. And they also have mentioned that they've gone to the doctors, they've gotten their blood tests, and their doctors tell them that everything is fine and there isn't anything they can do to be helped. Sometimes the doctors do prescribe a thyroid medication for them, and they get this little bit of hope, but then their symptoms don't go away. So I guess my question for you is, do you have any insight on why this might be happening to the people, that are coming through and inquiring about how we can help people at our clinic?
Yeah, many times we do get that kind of, inquiry, and it's because a lot of people just feel like, they know based on the internet and looking up symptoms that their symptoms seem to be related to thyroid issues. And when their blood work comes back, I guess I'll tackle that first. The scenario where their blood work looks normal, and yet they have all these symptoms. A lot of people are left to feel like, well, okay, where do I go? They feel like they're in a corner. And I'm going to cover in this podcast 3 major reasons why that could happen. One of them is probably the biggest, revealing area that people haven't really heard about yet, is inflammation on a cellular level. So what do I mean by that? Well, what we're finding more and more is that certain exposures to toxicities, things like certain chemicals, heavy metals like mercury and lead and aluminum, or products that have chemicals in them from cosmetics, pesticides. There's certain key chemicals, chlorine, fluorine, that have an affinity to disrupt thyroid function or the cells around the thyroid, or the cells in general. So when these toxicities start to interfere with the outer membrane of the cell, so your cells have this fatty outer membrane that houses your cells and houses the DNA and the little power plants that produce energy from your cells. When these chemicals or toxicities have an affinity to attach onto the fatty membrane, they start to interfere with these little receptors or docking stations that are on the cell membrane that read the hormones, such as your thyroid hormone, which is T3. So when these toxins affect that cell membrane and cause inflammation on that cell membrane, these little receptors that are supposed to read your hormones, they get blunted and they can't read the hormone as effectively. Therefore, your cells can't respond to the hormone as effectively. So this is like, now you have a scenario like going to the gas station and you're pouring gas on top of the car, maybe a little bit trickles into the gas tank, but a lot of it never enters the gas tank, and you're not going to drive real far on a situation like that before completely running out of gas. And that's exactly what's happening on a cellular level. A person's blood work may look normal when this is happening because their blood levels of the hormone, the active thyroid hormone, which is called T3, that blood level can look normal, but the cells aren't hearing it, just like the gas station scenario. And if that's the case, that means that a lot of the other hormones aren't being heard properly, like insulin, so you can become insulin resistant. If your cells don't recognize leptin, then you actually are weight loss resistant. So you could be doing a lot of good things and still not losing weight because of this, desensitized receptors that don't allow your cells to hear the hormone. So it's a vicious cycle, because if nutrition can't get into the cell as well, then the cells can't, or the nutrition can't feed the power plants that are producing energy, and then energy starts to drop, and it develops this vicious cycle. So that's one of the big reasons why the blood work could look normal, and you're still not feeling well. And the other thing is that if you're on a medication, so even if they did find that your thyroid numbers were off, and they put you on a medication, which typically is Synthroid or levothyroxine. Some people might have been even put on Armour thyroid or WP thyroid, some of the more natural thyroid hormones that actually have T3 and T4 in them. But again, if the cells can't read the hormone properly, you still have the same scenario. And that's why people can be on the thyroid hormone and still not be responding. If a person was put on T4, which is Synthroid or levothyroxine, and if their liver is less efficient, meaning that you can have 30% less function or efficiency of your liver, and yet your liver enzymes will look perfect, that can still greatly affect how well you're converting T4 to T3, and that's actually done in the liver. So even if your cells can't hear the hormone and you're on just T4, if you're not converting it to T3 properly, that could be another reason why you're not responding as well. Or if a person isn't on thyroid hormone, but their natural, the natural production of T4 isn't getting converted, we still have the same issue. So that's the second big issue that we see as to why these things can be going on. The third one is something that you don't hear a lot about, but the body has this mechanism where when you get sick, the body will conserve energy so that you can heal better. And one of the ways it does that is the T4, so the thyroid's producing T4, and it will convert that T4 or shunt it to what's called reverse T3. And that hormone actually blocks that receptor from allowing the cell to get as much T3 in. And you might wonder, well, why would the body be designed that way, to actually block its own T3 so that you're feeling more fatigued or not getting as much thyroid hormone? Well, when you get sick, you do get tired, and that's your body's mechanism. Producing reverse T3 is a mechanism to allow you to conserve energy so that it can focus more on getting you healed through, with your immune system. The problem is that stress or chronic stress can start to cause almost a mimicking effect, as if you were sick or had the flu or a cold. And it might start to cause you to convert instead of the T4 being converted just to T3, it might actually cause you to convert it to reverse T3 and actually block some of that thyroid hormone. So now
Thanks for joining us today on the Total Health Podcast. If you'd like more information about how Total Health can transform your health, check them out. They would love to set up a free consultation with you over the phone. Call them at 262-251-2929 to make that appointment. Otherwise, you can check them out on the web at www.totalhealthinc.com.